I think I have met most people in the room, but I'm looking forward to meeting more of you tonight and throughout the rest of the event. My name is Rebecca. I'm the COO here at Gelato. I've been with Gelato for, Henrik says 10 years, but I feel like he said that for 10 years, but it is 9 years. And I'm originally from the US, but I work and live in Norway, moved to Norway to work on this journey. Before joining Gelato, I was at Amazon in the UK leading their customer service. So I know a lot about the things that can go wrong in manufacturing. And what I loved about the challenge that Gelato had 10 years ago was how can we work with local manufacturers to help grow e-commerce? And that's why I've been here for 10 years, and that's why I'm excited to talk about what this panel and their knowledge can bring to you about the next phase of e-commerce that I believe will fuel your businesses.
Thank you, Rebecca. And I introduced myself already, but to give you a little bit more background about myself, I'm originally from Mexico. I moved to the US for school. I went to University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, wonderful town, still lovely and great food. I spent about 7 years of my career working in institutional finance, specifically first on the sales side. So I was in investment banking, basically going around and selling equities and fixed income securities around the world. I was particularly looking at emerging markets. I spent a few years working in Wall Street in New York, and then I moved to Hong Kong, as Henrik pointed out, for 4 years looking at Southeast Asia, which was a market that was booming, particularly with the decrease of interest rates after 2009. Then I did my MBA in London Business School, and that's where I transitioned into tech. I found Gelato back then in 2016 it was, and I fell in love with the vision, what Henrik and the team back then were putting together, and since then I moved to Norway, been there now for over 9 years, Norwegian now, and I live in the far north of Norway. If anybody ever wonders, I'm closer to Russia than I'm closer to Sweden, almost. Wonderful piece of time, and if you ever want to visit Norway and want to learn more about what's up there in the north, please reach out to me and happy to speak about it.
Thank you, Nico. Yeah, by the way, what you said there earlier about visiting and seeing PSPs is always a great time when you come to us and see us. It's actually funny, and I want to highlight Pradeep too. Every time you come as well, you bring a lot of energy. Plus, you're a tremendous table tennis player as well. So challenge him if he visits your facility. But actually, it's funny because my guys, my team, they still speak about the visits sometimes, and I think that's important too. And that's what I try to bring, like when I come to places like this too, is to bring a bit of joy and like energy too, because they still speak about like Frederick, who I spoke about earlier here from Gelato, and that visit was like 3-4 years ago to us. So thank you for that, of course. My name is Charlie. I'm the CEO of Tidy Merch. We're based just 1 hour south of Stockholm in Sweden, and I assume we'll have some questions later going into depth of our background and so forth, but basically I've been now printing t-shirts for 8 years. That's about it, and then the rest I'll take on the questions as they come. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Vincenzo, Italy, Rome. I built 15 years ago from scratch a web-to-print company to sell on the web commercial printing from business card to catalogs and books, and then add other product like packaging, labels, and so on. And 7 years ago, before COVID, 1 month before COVID, I started a new company, T-shirt Factory, to sell apparel and to sell gadgets.
Hello everyone, I'm Ryan. I founded a company called Print Clever. We are based in the UK and also have a factory in America. We produce a whole range of different products, all print on demand, all single piece flow, and generally what we do is work with work with brands to come up with merchandise solutions for them.
Well, thank you so much to our panelists. Who is this session for, right? And 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we came together in Sweden. I also won't try to pronounce the name, although I'm getting pretty good at Fiskebäckskäl. But we came together in Sweden, and Henrik laid out, as he always does, what is he seeing in the industry? And how fast are some of these categories moving, apparel being one of them? And after several years since that summit, many people have come to us and said, I'm ready now to take that plunge. Or, I've already taken it, but how do I grow? And many more of you have joined GelatoConnect having a heritage in apparel. And so what we want to do is bring together the people who are thinking about this opportunity, the people who now, following this keynote or the last keynote, know that you need to take this opportunity very seriously. And we wanted to bring people who have been on this journey in different ways, different shapes, and share their knowledge with you. What advice would they give to you starting or thinking about starting an apparel business in 2026? They all bring very different perspectives, and we've got a series of questions to try to get them to share their very generous knowledge with all of you. And I hope that you'll continue that conversation tonight, tomorrow, and in the years to come. So I'd like to give the first question to Vincenzo. You just mentioned that you founded a t-shirt factory from scratch, which was a deliberate bet on apparel. What made you see that opportunity versus all the other things happening 7 years ago? And you know print very well. So why apparel, and why a sole focus on apparel?
Yeah, because the first things is about digital and on-demand production. How I said I started 50 years ago with web to print on commercial, and different clients ask short runs, calendars, business cards, menu flyers, and then ask apparel, gadget. And I think about how to scale in an industrial way this market in Italy, of course. And then I install like a crazy, the first Kornit machine. It's a big, huge machine, Kornit. Probably it's the best DTG machine. And I started from scratch with my background, but with three pillars. First, margin. Apparel have a very good margin. Think about one t-shirt, very good t-shirt, $2. To print ink, 0.8, $1, $3. And you can sell on $15, $20 on Amazon or on internet. With calendar, flyers, posters, it's impossible. But in print-on-demand way, one t-shirt, one hoodies, different, totally different. This is the point. Not a lot of orders, 100 t-shirts, 10,000 t-shirts. This is a screen technology. It's not DTG. On this way, one by one, the margin is totally different. One. Two, clients. My previous client, like restaurant or school, asked me, can you give me t-shirt? Can you give me uniforms? Before I sell only paper, calendars, agenda, and I cross. So now I print t-shirts and commercial printing for the same client. This is a good opportunity. And then with the now DTG or DTF or other technology, it's easy. But the point is not to add machine, how to integrate machine in a workflow. This is the point. How to integrate machine.
Great, thank you so much. Charlie, why don't you tell us a little bit about what got you into the industry and also the changes that you've seen in the last couple of years?
Yeah. Well, I started off, basically, I like to see myself as a mini gelato, but the physical version, because I ran around on the Stockholm streets, taking in orders from shops or schools or whatever, and I would find a local print hub in my area to print it with, and I would add, €1 on top of that, and then, I didn't have a car or a license at the time. I don't even think I was 18, so I would, carry the box on the train, kind of take it back and forth, but the customer appreciated the service, and, the print hub, at the time, they didn't have a website presence or all these cool, modules we've seen here today. So obviously, I could reach and come a far way just based on personality and grit, basically. But it wasn't scalable enough, and it was too much. The print shops didn't want to be open on Saturdays like I wanted to or whatever. So we ended up looking at, me and my customers, as I like to refer them to, at the machine that we could entry at, and we settled for a Brother GTX Pro at the time, due to basically we felt it had a very affordable, entry-level pricing. where we could enter at a lease, and we felt we could scale both up and down, depending on how fast things would take off. So we started off very, very garage kind of style, and yeah, we got off to a great start.
Well, I've worked for a company that got started in a garage,
Yep.
so I think there's a lot to be said for that start. Ryan, Print Clever manages end-to-end merchandising, as you said, for global brands. How does that differ from like a traditional print-on-demand business?
So I would say one of our key fundamental differences is we work nearly exclusively direct to consumer. So instead of working with other businesses and producing merchandise or apparel for them, our business model is centered around finding a brand, working with a brand that has huge exposure, and then building merchandise solutions for them. That's predominantly around e-commerce, things like Shopify, Amazon. Walmart is a new one in America, which is doing well. And then, of course, where we can, we like to manufacture the product ourselves, which is then where the factory came from. So exactly the same products as, well, all three of us make exactly the same products, but just different markets, different customers, and I guess all have their different quirks. But I guess it shows the diversity, especially around apparel, around the number of, in theory, everyone is your customer.
Great. And speaking to this audience, this is a question for anybody who wants to take it. Why do you think that they should enter apparel? What do you think that they're leaving on the table by saying no to this type of opportunity?
I would say that, so we actually, when we first started Print Clever, we were predominantly manufacturing wall art products and then sublimation, so mugs and coasters, smaller products like that. We've actually only been doing apparel for probably about 3.5 years. And the one thing we found that really worked for our customers, and I think it was one of Henrik's slides earlier, was the more products we launched, the more we could reduce split shipping to end consumers. It was just more and more bolt-ons. And even now, we're probably still at a point where we probably haven't actually taken on any new customers just in apparel. We just upsold another service to the existing brands that we work with.
Great. Anybody else have anything to add? And why is 2026 the year to get started?
Just to add, think not only about t-shirt or apparel, think about gadgets and textile, okay? One of the most products that we sell with personalization is tote bag. Tote bag. You have tote bag, not 1 to 100 tote bag probably in a house, in the car. So, and we push on our client, restaurant, little shop. You can print, you can put your advertising, your logo on very good tote bag for $3, $5, $10. It's nothing. And they order 10 shops, 10 tote bag, 100 tote bag with different graphics. It's not only t-shirts. You can print everything on textile.
I thought you were going to say it was about pet products because Angus gave me a tip about how important pet products are to this segment. So maybe something to look at in the future as you migrate from a tote bag only client to the pet industry. Charlie, anything you want to add as sort of advice to this group thinking about this journey?
Well, I think the market is healthy for apparel right now, both in terms of demand, but also, you know, machinery. There's plenty of options. We work with a few of the same brands, but also not. But I don't think we have an exact same setup anyway. So it's very flexible at the moment. And of course, starting now, you have things like GelatoConnect software or procurement modules, which did not exist even 3-4 years ago when you started. So, I mean, if I could pick, of course, starting today or starting 4 years ago, I would start today, of course. It's an easy thing to say, but it's very true. And actually, you wouldn't say that with everything. A few things you would have wished, hey, I wish I started this 4 years ago. So I would say, in general, it's a healthy place to enter right now.
Well, it's almost like you knew the questions because the next section is, I think, what a lot of people have been asking, which is how do you pick what equipment to start with? How do you look at the landscape? How has it changed? Where do you get started? Everybody has their own preferences, bit of a heated debate. Yeah. So I'll let Nico take some of those tough questions.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca. But before that, it's interesting the point that you made, Ryan, that you can actually grow the pocket within your existing customer base by not necessarily launching completely different categories, but just expanding the breadth of the SKUs that you can offer, right, within the same category of apparel. So, very interesting point. Very good transition. Now we're going to speak about machines and the capital commitment and the decision that went through your heads before investing on your first machines. Before asking this first question that I have for you, Vincenzo, it's interesting also to see that your perspective, Charlie, like if we go 5-7 years ago, entering apparel as a category may have been more expensive than it is today. When you look at how the different components to get a production of a personalized apparel garment end to end, it was quite fragmented, connecting machines to inventory systems, to RIP softwares, right, to pricing tools, very, very fragmented. Today we're in a landscape where the entry price for some of these machines, if you think even as a DTF, has drastically go down, right? And now we have more consolidation around intelligent systems, intelligent operating systems, like we are today here with Connect. So if I start with you, Vincenzo, you straight went ahead with the core needs. These are not, affordable pieces of equipment, particularly the Avalanche HD6 and the Polypro. So tell us a little bit around the thinking process behind that, and what advice would you give to the audience here around how to think around how to start with machines?
I started with core need, okay, because I have already industrial machine for commercial printing, offset with Heidelberg, Komori, and Indigo, and other machine for commercial and large format. I decided to invest in core need to have the good capacity and to scale in the future. Okay, I analyze Italian market, okay, with very good numbers, and it's the same in the rest of the world. It's not different from the Nordic or Brazil. People ask personalization, how before Enric said, personalization, small quantity, and Cornet is the 7 years ago, probably is the best machine, okay? Now we have different opportunity. DTF is one of these. It's different, of course. It's like it, but it's very easy. It's and other machines like Brother and Epson. So up to you. You can start with small equipment and then add other equipment. But the point is integration in workflow. This is the point. 2 years ago, no, 2 days ago, I'm sorry for my issue, 2 days ago, I saw to our friends from Australia, my company. The process is easy. Easy? Easy. Blanket shirt, machine, dryer, logistic. 10 meters, 10 meters. This is okay if you have workflow, warehouse, programmatic, operator can scan the labels, the right files, print, scan the labels, and delivery with shipping. So think about workflow before, and then machine.
Thank you. So I think many of the people here today come from the background more on the digital side, not apparel, right? And you touched on a very interesting point, which is the challenge sometimes with the digital presses is the workflow piece. How do you get the files, rip the files, impose the files, generate the place, make sure they go to the DFE, right? In apparel, maybe that is not the biggest challenge. You have challenges in other parts of the end-to-end solution, which is understanding the procurement side, having control of your inventory, making sure that you don't overstock, you don't run out of stock, and also on the logistics when you're shipping lightweight parcels like this, right? So it's interesting. And on the core need, it's not a affordable piece of equipment. We've seen some of our customers that they have invested. I don't know how much was a Polymax Pro, but some of these machines go close to $1 million nowadays, right? And they have these machines utilized less than 30%, 30, 40% of the time. So that's an expensive piece of equipment.
Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. But we have margin, okay? Now we have margin, and we can scale. Just to share our history. Rebecca dropped us an email, okay, before Christmas in November, okay? Hey Vincenzo, Ryan can probably share orders with you in Europe. I said, okay, and in 1 weekend, 2 days,
Correct.
okay, we share information, we build infrastructure on our workflow, thanks Gelato, okay, to receive orders every day, every night, okay, 100 orders, different graphics, okay, different garment, print and delivery. Thousands in 1 month, less or more. And we integrate very soon.
One of the
Workflow.
benefits, yeah.
Yes, this is a real story.
Yes, and we found ourselves in a position at Christmas where I guess naturally our business model is very seasonal, and there becomes a point where physically, if you cannot make any more product in your factory, being able to have a system like GelatoConnect, and in fact, we are now using this between our UK and US factory, in theory the same model of being able to pass work to to other factories and other people that can help, which makes a massive difference when it's important, when it's Christmas, when there's obviously last postal dates that have to be met so the customers get their orders in time.
Super. So a benefit about joining GelatoConnect Apparel, you get access to a platform where you can actually contribute and get get potential volume across. So excited to see that. This question is for you, Charlie. So broader GTX Pro, slightly different price point. So tell me a little bit about the story around, you touched base upon it at the beginning, but if we can elaborate a little bit more, what was the train of thought behind that investment? And for those here that are maybe on the fence thinking about getting into apparel, what sort of advice would you give them?
I was looking for something where I could enter, at a very, very low price point. If you look at the market today and, 6, 7 years ago, that would be, that's this 6-7 meme. Have you guys seen that? That's crazy. It's taken over the internet, and you can monetize that too, actually, by, making artwork of these kind of things and selling it. So guys, get going, get working. Yeah, the thing is, I don't know it either. I want someone to raise their hand to do it. It's insane. But the funny thing is, obviously, seeing volume coming through, we see T-shirts with these kind of trends, and especially gelato volume is particular, intense on catching up threads on online. Yeah, we wanted to enter Epson and Brother. Were the machines we were looking at, and we just wanted to get a really good deal, a good relationship with someone where we could enter and get a lease contract to get started. We found Brother in Sweden, a reseller, sold us the machine. We could barely afford it, so it was actually super intense time. I didn't afford the heat press, and for a Brother printer, if you don't have a cornete, these fancy stuff, you need to press the garment after pre-treating, and then you print it. So after buying everything, installing everything, I had no press. So I couldn't even start taking on jobs. And that was another, what can a press cost? How much is a press nowadays? Nothing, right? 100 euros?
Yeah,
or
100, yeah.
So I could only do white T-shirts, because white T-shirts, you don't have to pre-treat, you can start. So my first job was 25 white T-shirts for a customer. And they sent them back because the prints were all crooked. It was crazy. That was the first week coming into it. I got the press. It was a 34 square meter room that I rented in a fancy neighborhood where people lived above, and they just wanted to rent out the space underneath, like an awful space. It was a kitchen, bathroom, and facility in one room. Smaller, than this stage, basically. And then business really started taking off. So I was pre-treating, as that's also a cheap piece of equipment when you do them separately, unlike the cornete. You press it, and then I print it. And these fumes, started coming up in this room. So the landlord kicked me out. They said it looked like, I don't know what inside of there, like a sauna or something.
Sure, a sauna.
So, yeah. So we tried to actually talk ourselves out of it, create ventilation, electricity, and, we spent a lot of time wasted, doing stuff like this instead of looking at, more interesting capabilities. However, it worked out in the end. We managed to move a facility, which we have done several times since then as we have grown, and also managed to add more of the same printer and also the next models up to scale it. Today, I would say, if I would look at a machine, I'm definitely not, stuck in a corner saying, Brother is the best. It's not like a football team, you know what I mean, where you pick it and you stick for it for life. I'm super open to all machinery that is used, actually, and I try to stay in touch with all machine vendors and service people to kind of take the temperature of how their machines are feeling and how they're being used, the ink cost consumables. Now, a thing I also look at is obviously who is working closely with Gelato. In terms of purchasing, in terms of analytics, and also the things best, connections with the machine. Where can we rip cleverly and have access to all the good recipes to really manage a printer from a tech side. So I'm super open for everything, but to start like that is very risk-free, so to speak. There's things that are way more expensive. A car is more expensive, basically. So it's definitely a good way to get started, to start there. And it's still, I would say, quality-wise, I think they all are quite similar, to be honest, especially if you ask the customer. And I also agree with you, Vincenzo, when I was there when I go to expos, now, I don't spend too much time looking at the machines anyway. I agree that it sounds cliche, but the softwares are more interesting now. The machines will only produce as well as you take care of them and handle them anyway. So sales and software will go be prioritized ahead of, nerding into the specifics of each individual machine.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for sharing the story. True entrepreneur. I still remember first time I visited a new facility and we worked on the setup for the warehouse and all the different SKUs. Now you have how many of these GTX Pros?
5.
5. From 1 to 5.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
A good story.
Exactly.
Thanks for sharing that. And if there's any questions from anyone, just feel free to just raise a hand, and if we get a mic, we can also jump in.
I mean, my question is more, how did the three of you deal with the what to stock dilemma? Because, I mean, I come from the wall art sector, which is significantly simpler, right? All the sizes come out the same roll of paper, etc. And, I mean, there's so many different cotton mixes, colours, variation. So how did you deal with that?
I didn't deal with it. I messed up badly when I started, actually. I think in one of our former facilities, we had Henrik visiting and Marcus from Gelato and David, who's here today as well. We were pretty embarrassed, obviously, of what we had to show, to be quite frank with you. Obviously, boxes everywhere and unsold goods, and, it wasn't a great impression. It felt like, inviting, a girlfriend parents home or whatever, and it looked, horrible. It looked like...
I was not a girlfriend.
Sorry?
I was not a girlfriend to you. I can tell you when I visited Charlie, it looked like a complete mess.
Yep.
I was like shocked that you could get anything out of that facility.
Yep.
And I was equally shocked when we deployed GelatoConnect, because then you called me and you said you were actually realizing that you were 80%, so like 5x overstocked on a number of items, and then you were understocked on different items.
Yep.
But then we helped you and we purchased, the shelves, we deployed GelatoConnect, Procurement, and I think when you and I did the podcast, you said that you unlocked about 60% of the capital that you had in the warehouse through AI.
Yep.
And then your sales increased 11% because you weren't out of stock on the SKUs that you sold a lot of.
Exactly.
So it's been a fascinating journey, because it looked like a boys' room when you were 11, when I came in the first time, and items everywhere. But now it's like super well organized, and it's just like this beautiful machine. So it's been a fantastic journey together, Charlie.
Definitely, thank you. I agree.
But you have to clarify that we don't have any relationship.
It was embarrassing, nevertheless. But to relate back to your question there, so it was super hard before. I would say now it's not hard at all. I would feel confident putting any of my staff members into using like the procurement model and scaling with that. And in the beginning, of course, we were also like worried, like, okay, what will happen with each individual's knowledge? What will happen with my knowledge? But then you just have, you're overestimating yourself so much there, because check what it looked like before, and we weren't doing a great job either. So it didn't matter what the next step would be, we needed to change, and the procurement model came well into hand for us.
Can I just add a little bit from my perspective, since I work with all of the fulfillment partners who tell me that they only want to make black t-shirts, white t-shirts, hoodies. They don't want to do anything strange, no yellow tank tops, nothing that might catch a trend. And this is why GelatoConnect procurement is so important for apparel, because we bring together all of the blank manufacturers, the distributors in all of your countries, but also at a state level. And they want to bring this amazing selection to the creator economy. And so does Gelato. But we have a lot of people in between who only want to sell a white t-shirt. So how do we fix that? So our AI replenishment in GelatoConnect procurement takes all of our data about what people are searching for, what they can and can't find on Gelato, and it makes a recommendation through to Charlie in his app that says, this is what you should buy today. And Charlie has gone through this journey, I think that's what you're referring to, where now you completely make your ordering decisions based on that app.
Everything.
And it's all on the phone. We watched you do it on the bus ride to our last event. And as a result, you're not really thinking, is the weather cold? Should I start ordering fleece jackets? Is the weather hot? Should I keep the tank tops in stock? What colors, what mix, which all used to be emails between us, calls, frustration on both sides, a lot. This is where all the overstocks came and the understocks came in. And so now that you're on GelatoConnect procurement, we don't speak actually about what products you should launch. We know what a brother is capable of. We know what equipment you have and what capacity. And we share information through AI replenishment that tells you, based on today, what you should order. And then we have this network of suppliers who's all integrated, so we can also see what they have in stock, how long it will take, and then to route orders accordingly. This means that there is nothing stopping us together, working together with the software in between us, from bringing 300,000 SKUs into the market. And we really have now a highway to launch new products, and we don't need to stop at black and white.
No. Yeah, we've added thousands of SKUs, obviously, through this module. So, and we are, yes sayers. So we said yes to all these colors before implementing this. That's the only. I should have said the yes to only black and white first, and then implemented it. I did reverse, but I'll probably do that again.
Yeah. So this is a concept. This is how you say yes to more SKUs for your customers, right?
Exactly.
And tap
Relating
into that growth.
Yep.
There's a concept that Rebecca speaks about, links to one concept in apparel called just-in-time, which means that you're able to receive orders from your customers for inventory that you don't have in stock. And through software that gets accumulated during the course of the day, goes automatically to your suppliers, come in the boxes in the morning, straight into production, so you can actually receive and send orders to production for SKUs that you don't have at hand. And this means, you benefit for not having stock there. The customers benefit because they get the selection. You grow through your customers, and of course, our creators get access to that long tail of SKUs. So that's
to add that the suppliers have benefited hugely too, because that's orders they wouldn't have received before, because the order would have never entered, our print hub. So when I speak to my suppliers who are integrated in Gelato procurement, they are super happy because our ordering with them has skyrocketed since they also joined on the procurement platform. While we've kept our relationship with them, we've just made the order process way smoother for them and for us.
You've insisted that your suppliers join GelatoConnect. You've been very forceful, Vincenzo.
Yes, I push a lot in Italy to add suppliers in Gelato Procurement. Gelato Procurement is amazing, 100%. I agree. The point is, if we have a lot of suppliers, okay, of course, the network works very well. But the point is digital mentality. Not all suppliers are with digital mentality. It's legacy, traditional. This is my system. Put the orders in my system. It's rich. Probably it's rich, but timing changing. And now with Amos, we are in contact with 2 big players in Italy to push in Gelato Procurement. This is the way.
What do you see in America as the differences between managing your inventory in the UK and the US?
I would say the UK, I'm not so sure about Europe, but I think it's more similar to the UK. The UK is very, I would say, established in terms of distribution. We we sell hundreds of thousands of SKUs. We probably only hold 2,500 different SKUs in stock, but we're ordering every evening, and then that's on a van on our loading dock at 7 o'clock the next morning. So the UK is very, very well established. Obviously, size helps. It's a small place. America, I would say, is more challenging for us. There are longer lead times, but it still doesn't mean that just in time isn't possible. And for example, with the GelatoConnect software, our factory is in a state called Minnesota, and we've got different distribution centers, one in Minneapolis, which is a few hours away, one in Chicago, and it'll even go down to that level of being able to route to the localist, or the distribution center that's closest to us, to ensure that it is going to get there quickly. Because that's a big place. America is a big country, and if you get shipments from California, they can take 4 or 5 days to turn up. So ensuring that we're ordering not just the right stock, but from the right distribution centers, really does help bring those lead times down.
Super. Maybe to wrap up this section, one other question for you, Ryan. So Print Clever does DTG, direct to garment, DTF, direct to film, dye sublimation. So what was, and you of course have 2 sites, Minnesota and also in Swindon, right? What was the decision around where to start? What print technology to start with? What about this site? What drove you into the expansion into other technologies? And what kind of advice can you give for people here on today?
Yeah, so garments really only 3.5 years ago. And it was actually just after Christmas, one of our larger customers that we manufactured mugs, wall art for, came to us, and they'd been let down over Christmas by their current garment supplier, and so they asked us if we could start looking at it. We looked at Epson and Brother. We decided to go with Brother in the end, and that was mainly around the fact of, we worked out that if we could produce 70 t-shirts a day, which didn't seem like a massively difficult challenge, that would cover the cost of the equipment. It would be worth starting, and then obviously we could scale from there. Over the next kind of 3 or 4 years, we installed 2 printers in the end for redundancy, but we've gone from 2 printers in the UK to 10 in the UK on the DTG side. We've got 4 machines in America, and I guess the way we've always built Print Clever is probably mostly down to financial reasons, but we've always just bolted on and built solutions that were quite easy to scale up and scale down, because seasonality, as I mentioned before, is a massive thing for us. And so ensuring that we're not, I guess, overcommitting on capital expenditure, and that we can really utilize the machines we've got, but we know that if we need more, they're relatively inexpensive, and we can add them on, has been probably the single biggest thing that's driven us forward. For now, or to give you a comparison of scale, we've gone from 70 t-shirts 3.5 years ago to probably at Christmas a capacity across both sites of 5,500 a day. So it really has grown really quickly, and obviously you heard from Vincenzo that even this Christmas that wasn't enough for us, and we then had to outsource work as well.
Super. So great experience, and thanks for sharing that with us. Should we speak maybe a little bit about the workflow?
Yeah.
What do you think, Rebecca?
Absolutely. So I want to start with Charlie, since I think you've been on the GelatoConnect workflow journey a bit longer. I want to ask you a little bit about what your life was like before and how it's changed, and where you're taking your business as a result.
Good question. Well, kind of as we hinted earlier, it was pretty, chaotic, and we were pretty, of course, as many of us are here, very person dependent, of course, mainly on myself. So, just turning up every single day.
Because you took a lot of vacations back then, right?
Exactly, every other week, exactly. No, but having to be on site. 7 days a week is nothing I mind, but it hindered, growth, of course. Anything from, having just a local tech stack kind of built by myself and other incompetent people in that terms, it wasn't reliable. So we ended up just fixing things, day by day as they went past. And I tried bringing people in, staff in, but we still couldn't scale because we didn't have a good enough base for them to stand on and to use. So it wasn't fair for me, for them, for customers. We had delays, even with you guys, when we started and not using the software yet. Turning to now where we have, an independent crew. I said this, I've never been abroad until I met Gelato, basically. That's a true story. So I went to LA with Gelato now in January. Now I'm here in Portugal, and I was in Fiskebäckskil, but that's in Sweden already, where I'm based, so it doesn't really count. That's the 3 times I've been abroad the past 10 years. So it's kind of aligned, saying that, if I invest my time here, maybe I can go away again and again and again. So in all seriousness, though, we went from, obviously not making money, not taking out wages, having to cut people off for the wrong reasons, not the right, to being here where we are now, where we are growing. We are looking at expansion, both in product, both in SKUs, maybe even facilities. And we can dare to dream, to believe, and to grow again. Kind of how we started first, 8 years ago, by just wanted to make our customers happy. Now we have that energy back, basically.
And you can check how everybody's doing on your phone now, and give them your instructions to make sure that you can, enjoy this event.
Yeah, of course. But also they enjoy using it themselves, and that's also what I try to bring as well. Every time I'm here, I report back to them saying like, are you guys happy with where things are going? Because at the end of the day, they are the ones using it the most. So that's why I don't try to get too much into even the details. Even when talented people like Nico speak, I get bored eventually. I can't take that much information in. So I'm just like, guys, are you happy with this? And they're like, yes. Then I say, yes, we go for it. We implement this. We do this so that they are proud to be like a part of this journey too. Because for me, when I started at Fiskebäckskil, the product itself wasn't nowhere near where it is today. This is amazing. It's about committing, and that's what it was for me. So it's more like high-level decision, and then I knew this was going to work out.
Vincenzo, you are one of, I think, probably the first apparel forward PSPs who also felt very strongly about AI Estimator as a growth engine. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you're thinking about bringing these two aspects and these two worlds together to drive Titali.
Yes. I believe in AI. Okay, it's an opportunity. Yes or die. And we have our estimator, our configurator. Okay, simple. But with your AI, Gelato AI, okay, it's not only to put information. It's conversational thinking. A lot of clients ask us, I want to print 1,100 books and stop. AI reply with books, okay, black and white, the text, okay, probably the format is A5. So, boom, directly A5, 100. This is the cover. This is the text. This is the paper. It's okay. Yes, this is the price. It's easy. It's not to put every information in our parameters. And for my operator, it's very easy to copy paste from WhatsApp or email quotation, okay, drop copy paste in the AI and have a very, very soon fast reply. And we reduce 50% of our operators on quotation. It is in beta. At the moment it is in beta, but I hope to invest a lot with Prodep and your team to change, to switch from our old platform to AI Estimator.
Well, I'm sure you look forward to the criticism on your website the next time that we meet, and your choice of colors. But I think what you can do with bringing the AI Estimator into the apparel space to help people to see all the options for true customization on larger B2B orders will be quite interesting. So looking forward to seeing what you all come up with. Ryan, you really had some growth challenges with your with the software decisions that you had taken in the past. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey, why you felt you had outgrown your older software approach, and what you were looking to achieve by moving to GelatoConnect?
Mm-hmm. So I would say we properly started our software journey as a company probably about 2.5 years ago. Before that, we were completely paper, which if you're shipping out 1,000 orders a day and you've got paper everywhere, gets very complicated very quickly. We've taken such enormous strides over the last couple of years, to the point where we probably early at the beginning of last year, we had halved our what we call unit labor cost, the cost it costs us to manufacture a product. And you would think that obviously that would lead to us halving our staff. In reality, it just meant that we could just do twice as much work, which is what's happened. We have jumping headfirst in software has really just excelled us to another level. Where we kind of feel like we need to, when we felt like we needed to go next, and the reason why we've partnered up with Gelato is because we needed ultimate flexibility. And we work with a number of different clients. They all have very different requirements or specifications that they need. And for us just to be able to go and do it and not have to rely on software developers or engineers, and then obviously time to implement that stuff has been probably the biggest single thing that we've liked most about Gelato. We can do it. We want to change it. We can change it. Regardless of whether anyone thinks that's right or wrong, if we think it's right, or if we think it's right for our customer, we almost don't need to ask. We can just go and do it ourselves, which is probably the biggest thing.
And I think that's what our team really enjoys, working with your team, because you have like such a hands-on mentality, and the software can do so many different things, but you always see the opportunity to take what the software can do and bring it to your customers. You gave me an example about adding a barcode or an EAN number to something, coding something on top of GelatoConnect on Boxing Day, and making sure that like the software supports the fact that you are 24/7 now that you're in the United Kingdom and the United States, and that your last software partner maybe didn't have that type of approach.
Yeah, that's a good point. So things inevitably sometimes go wrong, and one super thing I've been really impressed with is there is pretty much always someone around that can help. Even a couple of months ago, we were on holiday, we were in Florida, and the guys in America were working a weekend shift. We wanted to get ahead, and it's there's a rule in Gelato called batching. This was very early, didn't really understand how it worked, but in essence, I wanted to get my orders into the factory early. It was a 5-minute live chat with someone at Gelato, and then bam, they're there. So I guess when inevitably there are problems, having somebody literally at the end of a chat is so helpful. America as well, I often find that our day kind of, normally you think it finishes at 5 o'clock in the UK, and then of course that's really when America is just waking up. And so knowing that they've got support until 10, 11 o'clock at night UK time, which is of course their optimal time of the day, has made a big difference so far into the way we can operate as well.
Well, it's good that Nico never sleeps, right? So,
Same as Citigroup, never sleeps.
I think we'll take the next section now.
All right. Before jumping onto the next section, we've been speaking today a lot around the front-end solutions and how you can leverage GelatoConnect to ingest orders into the system, right? We spoke about the AI estimator and the beautiful interfaces. I don't want to say which one was the best. I think the 3 of them were equally beautiful. Yes, sir. But you, Charlie, have been using StoreLink for quite some time. So we will speak a little bit more around StoreLink, but if you share us a little bit to this group, how have you been using StoreLink? In what level? What has it unlocked with regards to the offering that you can give your customers?
Loads. I mean, StoreLink, I would like you to go into kind of the technical specification of what it actually is. But what it has meant for us is we've been able to centralize our order intake from various e-com platforms. In our case, a lot of Shopify's, but I know it integrates super well with like Amazon, Etsy, TikTok Shop, and many WooCommerce and many more. The way we've centralized it is then we have the app, which is white labeled, right? We install it on our customers or our prospects' website, and this way all the orders enters our system. Before, we would do this too. We wouldn't have an app, so we would have to request for a login each time, and Shopify has two-step authentication, so we would ask for like text messages of like, which code do you see right now? And we would like have to be super fast, and then we're too slow, so we press send again, and we spend loads of time logging into having 70 stores. I think you guys have. We have around that number too. Is quite normal in the industry, and it's a good way to find volume. Now we have those centralized. We don't have to log into 70 different shops or await Excel links coming out each morning from each individual customers and then sending them back with tracking links or whatever. Now it's fully centralized. The order intake happens, the shipping happens. Our customer sees a status update, a tracking link. It's a super scalable solution. It adds a lot of value for the customer, and has also been a profit changer for us. Here's a room for us to make money, more or less.
Yeah, exciting. I think you've been one of the pioneers in StoreLink, helping us build the solution, and looking forward to speak more about that during the rest of the day today and tomorrow. Okay, moving to the next topic. So apparel means production of various SKUs, so thousands of SKUs we spoke about. Also, these are lightweight packages shipping, so margins, we talked about this a bit earlier, is important, right? Having control over margins by customer, by product. And so let's speak about a little bit about that and how do you manage that both in the procurement and the logistics side. So if I start with you, Vincenzo, your product selection in apparel has grown. So walk us a little bit around how has it grown through the years in terms of how many SKUs you've grown into your catalog, and also how do you manage that inventory? How do you decide what to have in stock, what to not have in stock, what to have just in time? So if you can walk us a little bit around that and some of the learnings you've had as you're expanding the catalog for people here in the room.
The facility and the operation on textile is very time consuming because we have a big fragmentation. SKU, one order, have 3-5 items. It's not like paper. Think about one order with one t-shirt, one hoodies, one mags. Okay, you print and produce before t-shirt. In the afternoon, the hoodies and the mags. Where you put, your orders before shipping? Okay, if you don't have workflow, this is not easy. It's like very big field with a lot of pieces. But this is big fragmentation and time consuming. With procurement, we can analyze data, and we can order the right quantity, and we have in our system, in our warehouse, the exactly number, now in real time to receive order and to reorder for tomorrow. This is now the point to scale and to add new products in our catalogs, only with automation.
Thank you. I know you have.
No.
Yeah, you're okay on time.
Okay.
Excellent.
Just one thing for everyone in the room that I was reflecting upon that I think is an important data point. We have moved into apparel in create and optimal print with full force. And what led us into that was a study we did with McKinsey. We spent too much money, but a lot of time with McKinsey. And I want to share some of the numbers because I think this is important. I know some of you are sitting and thinking, well, we're not in apparel, it's not interesting. And so if you listen to these numbers, it is more interesting. And so compared to many others at my age, I take off my glasses when I read. I don't take them on. So McKinsey worked together with Eurostats, Statista, McKinsey, Euromonitor International, and together with them, they they presented the following data to us. This is annual average spend in Europe and the United States per person. So let's start from the bottom. Calendars is 2 to 5 euros per person per year. Photo book is 4 to 9 euros per year. Greeting cards is 8 to 10 euros per year. Wall art is 12 to 40 euros per year. And clothing is 600 to 1,200 euros per year. So clothing, if you combine everything in the traditional print, clothing beats the combined spend by 30 to 60 times. This was the primary reason for why we moved into apparel. When we now look at the growth we're seeing in the US, if we look at our business in the US, I would say that 60 to 80% of the growth is fueled by apparel. I'm not saying you should go into apparel, but I am saying that the panel and the discussion around apparel, from a strict statistical perspective, if you just look at the numbers, it is an interesting category to at least discuss and to reflect upon. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. It sounds like you've all made the right decision.
Okay, I'll kick it off. Another question maybe here for you, Ryan. So now you have 2 sites. I heard you have somebody that is looking at or used to look manually at the replenishment of stock and managing the inventory for 2 sites, spending several hours, plenty of hours, if not during the day. So how has that changed now that you have been starting to deploy GelatoConnect? How do you see that going once you go live? And what does the team do now with that free time? What do you expect that to unblock?
Absolutely. So we are garment stock is more challenging, and I would say probably up until this point it has been a challenge for us. We have brought the wrong SKUs. We have brought too much stock, and naturally that's difficult, and it wastes cash. Obviously we're kind of still moving through the procurement journey at the moment. I guess our fundamental end goal is that actually we'll be able to kind of put the ordering back into the production manager's hands, rather than at the moment where it's goes through various procurement people, both in the UK and America, and take kind of all of that guesswork away. A lot of what the other guys have been saying, really. We've started to test it. It works very well, and to take probably what is at least 2 FTE across both sites down to a click of a button at each site is very exciting. It's now started to make us look at the other products that we buy and the other sourcing that we do, not just local distribution, but what actually we could now potentially go and source from overseas to increase our margins further. And so I think that's probably now the next evolution for us, and where we now focus our time, because the day-to-day BAU things, all of that's taken care of. Mm-hmm. Just to add one other point as well on, we were talking about, or you mentioned about margins earlier. America for us was, and it still is obviously a new expansion, and probably one of the biggest challenges we found, and any paper printers out there will probably experience this if they move into this direction as well, was we had very little volume in logistics, barely any shipping at all. Certainly the smaller items, single parcels, and the savings that we have now started to see come through on the logistics side has just been astronomical. Easily 30 to 50%, I would say, depending on the parcel that we're sending. So that has been, that's probably actually at the moment the single biggest driver in terms of ensuring profitability in America, has been that logistics piece.
And I remember this conversation because we were deciding, like, we were excited you were on this journey. We were going to start in January, and you saw the logistics rates that we could offer, and you said, how can I move up my start date? Like, this will pay for the entire software suite just by my existing volume and the shipping reduction that I can have. I know that's not an outlier experience on this panel. I think Charlie, Vincenzo, you're in similar situation. So that really accelerated your deployment, actually, and also our collaboration. Maybe we were bringing some of that volume during peak that you mentioned.
The saving in America alone, and bearing in mind America is by no means, it's a very small part of our business today, and hopefully soon it will be the biggest part of our business. But the saving we're forecasting this year alone in those logistics savings, you're correct, pays for the software solution for the whole company across both sites, and still leaves us additional profit at the end. So you are correct. I tried to get it in before Christmas. We did to some extent, and it worked well. But as we now move forward and get nearly everything on it, that's when we'll really start to see the benefit.
Very exciting.
Good. Just one follow-up before maybe we go to the last kind of wrap-up questions. What does this mean when you speak about the savings now that you can achieve on logistics and the use of AI to replenish stock and have full control and be able to expand, the SKUs? What does this mean in terms of what you can offer to your customers? And you have some very exciting customers coming along. So what does that give you power to offer them that we can share with the audience here?
That's a good question. We have. Let me think about that a second. I would say that we've really kind of pushed hard and fast on AI. We've deployed it a lot across the business already outside of GelatoConnect. Things like customer care. We've nigh on very soon. We'll have pretty much moved 100% of our customer care, certainly first point interaction, completely over to AI. And this is stuff that we've built ourselves, and we're not software developers or engineers. We just like learning and playing. What does that mean to our customers? It means when they've got a problem, they get an answer while we're all asleep. That speed of, that speed of deployment and that constant drive, and it's probably something like similar to the AI estimator, although I guess kind of we're a different business, but it's the same message, is that speed and that just constant evolution is just now allowing us to find bigger and bigger customers, to onboard faster, and in essence just assure that we are quicker and better than everyone else.
Great. Well, I just have a wrap-up question, which is, okay, we've spoken about the past. Where do you see the future? And how do you think GelatoConnect and working together will accelerate you getting there? We'll start with you, Charlie.
Yeah. Well, for us, we plan to, we've always said, basically, Gelato says jump, we ask how high. Basically, we've just said we just jump on it. We think it's exciting. And, we have the numbers to back it up, too. We also see a 40% reduction in shipping. We managed to double our revenue whilst increasing, our cash from 3% to 10 year by year. So we are super confident in moving forward together with Gelato. We want to, I want to move more people in my facility, working closer with Gelato in terms of the product itself. Just like I did in the beginning when we started with machinery, we invested a lot of our time internally, spending it obviously on the machine, learning it, maintenance, going back and forth, testing things. That's what I want to do now. I want to play with the product. I want to put resources internally to get the most out of this big product. Basically, I want one person just reading the release notes weekly, so we are up to date, basically. Just like how we started to study our machines to be the best at that and best at producing. I want to understand the full thing, because then we can really scale, keep doing these steps while ensuring it's sustainable. Thanks to the procurement module, the logistic module, the workflow is in place for us. So for us, it's just about scaling, basically.
Great. And I saw the map of Sweden, and Gothenburg is already controlled by you, so you will take Stockholm.
Yeah, I'm coming down Gothenburg later too.
Excellent.
No, but also that's one thing. I think partnerships within the network is something I want to look more into. Product expansion, not necessarily by producing the product myself, by working with people like Jesper and others. So I think the whole community and the whole network, I see a lot of potential in that too.
Great.
So actually, yeah, ending that, not only like the hard values, you know, obviously the product is great and all that, but also, yeah, the soft values, the relationships, the lessons, and yeah, the continuous, you know, general improvement.
Thank you.
Just to add, to scale, it's very easy to add the new technology. If you invest in GelatoConnect, okay, probably tomorrow, new technology you can plug in very easy. For my example, DTF, we have new machine and plug in with new orders, and we can manage with GelatoConnect and workflow, DTG or DTF or sublimation in the same way. This is a very great value.
Thank you. And Ryan, just to close out with you.
I would say for us, it's really about how we can now drive profitability. If I look at our EBITDA or our net profit over the last 4 or 5 years, it's gone from 3% to 6% to 10%, and now this year our aim is to get it to 15% through just continuing that drive. And you know, fundamentally, that's what we're all here to do. So that's where we see the real driver, is just leveraging everything we can to make sure that we can make the best products we can, and then obviously maximize our return as well.
Well, thank you so much for being so generous with sharing all of your knowledge and experience, both on this panel, but I know you're also hosting many different people come and visit you, and you visit many people. So I'm sure people will want to grab you and discuss or debate any of the points raised here. And there's also a lot of other apparel experts in the room, of course. We could have had the entire stage filled, which is so... it's so satisfying, given what Henrik mentioned about this transition from a gelato perspective, really coming the last 6-7 years, and how much of our product and our ecosystem is now fueling that next phase of growth. So thank you so much to everybody, and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Vincenzo. Thank you, Charlie. Great to work together with you. It's been a couple of years already, but many years to come. So we take 45 minutes, I think, roughly.
30.
We take 30.
Yes. I'm not generous.
I feel like I'm home
generous.
now. So for how long, Dad? Well, why don't we ask Mom? So we take 30. We take 30 minutes, and then we'll see each other soon again.